Oh, sorry, just comparing some phones. This here is an Android device, this here is a BlackBerry device. They're quite similar. More on this later on in the episode. This is Gadget Nation, by the way. Brand new episode, me, Adam Carruthers. Let's get it started. How do companies stay top of their game in the world of technology? By pushing out awesome new products, or at least I hope it's awesome. So recently Nikon had something, a media retreat, and my producer went. So she's decided to film me in on everything new with Nikon because they got something really special to show us. Let's find out more in First Look.
Hi guys, here I am at Panko Island. This time around, Gadget Nation has been invited by Nikon for the Nikon1 Media Retreat. I just cannot wait to get my hands on the Nikon 1 series cameras. Hi guys, here in my hands I have the Nikon 1 system cameras. On my left hand side is the V1 and on my right is the J1. So what sets these two cameras apart? In terms of design, they look similar. In terms of their build though, there is some difference. The V1, it is made of magnesium alloy, while the J1 is made of polycarbonate.
The Nikon 1 mirrorless system camera has a beautiful retro look to it. The design for both V1 and J1 is clean with simple interface. At the top, you can find the on-off button, shutter button and record button. At the rear of the camera, more control buttons are laid out nicely right next to the 3-inch LCD screen. Even with the lack of an obvious physical grip, we can easily find comfort with the rubber thumb rest that is very well placed next to the rotary mode dial, where users can easily access the 4 main shooting modes. The Nikon1 V1 is a compact, high-performance camera featuring a 10-megapixel CX format sensor and an all-new Nikon 1 lens mount, offering the versatility of interchangeable lens. It has an electronic viewfinder at the top, and it also features a hot shoe for attaching optional speed light or GPS. The J1, on the other hand, is considerably much compact than the V1. Like the V1, the J1 offers the versatility of interchangeable lens with neither a hot shoe nor electronic viewfinder, but it comes with a built-in flash. Cater to consumers that see the camera as a part of their connected lifestyle, while at the same time wish to make a statement in terms of visual storytelling. The J1 and the compatible lens come in a variety of matching vibrant colors, including white, pink, silver, red and black. The Nikon 1 compact system camera is compatible with 4 types of lens, namely 10mm prime lens, 10 to 30mm lens, 30 to 110mm lens, and 10 to 100mm power zoom lens. Nikon has also implemented a simple locking mechanism to enhance the portability of the cameras. Overall, my experience with the Nikon 1 camera is pleasant. Even though the mode dial at the rear panel gives you direct access to preset shooting modes, I find that a bit of menu diving is necessary to fully understand the true essence of the new Nikon offering. You need to at least know the fundamentals of photography to unleash the full potential of the Nikon 1 system camera.
is the Nikon1 J1 and this is Nikon1 V1. For a more thorough review, I'm going to bring these two cameras from Bangkok back to Kuala Lumpur for NMC for a review. Be sure to tune in then.
You know, some partnerships are awesome. Batman and Robin, for example, they're awesome. In fact, Robin won't be in the next movie. But never mind, sorry, I'm digressing. There's another partnership, which is this. It's Facebook. That's why there's a little Facebook icon right there. And it's a phone made by HTC, which resembles this, a BlackBerry. Is it a good partnership or is it a bad partnership? It's time to find out a little bit more about the Cha Cha in Gadget Scope. The Cha Cha. Now, I've had a lot of ads for it. I've seen some commercials for it. It's been really hyped up, and this is the device. Now, when you look at it, it probably reminds you of one thing, the BlackBerry. We've reviewed so many touchscreen phones, I've almost forgotten what it's like to actually have a QWERTY keyboard right here. But we do have one, as you can see. So just for comparison's sake, very, very similar. However, it's not just a BlackBerry clone. No, there's more aspects to it. It's social networking, it's touch and type. So, just looking at it, it's incredibly similar. In fact, this is a new bowl, so it's touchscreen as well, but I'm going to put it down for, we don't really need it right now. As you can see, it's got a nice little finish to it. It's white plastic and brushed metal, which is always nice, but one key distinctive feature would be the curve of it. You see how it's curved? Okay, so effectively, that will make it easier for you to use the keyboard, so you're holding it in your hands. The QWERTY keyboard is easier to type with, and I'll be honest, these rubberized pads, keypads, really do have a nice feeling to it. Now the screen itself, let me switch it on for a second. It's very, very responsive. Now that's impressed me because underneath the hood, you've got an 800 megahertz processor, so it's not the fastest out there, but it will certainly do the job. In fact, for what it's supposed to do, it's brilliant. It is an Android phone, and out of the box, you're gonna have 4 screens, home screens, which you can swipe across, but you can have up to 7. But the most distinctive feature when you're looking at it would be that little button right there, the Facebook button. A little bit more about that later on. Elsewhere, the camera at the back, talking 5 megapixels there for you to snap away, and there is also another camera here, VGA camera of self-portraits. To be honest, it's not going to give you very, very good pictures, but if you love seeing how you look, maybe how you dress before you go out, then obviously it will do the job. So, like I said, the touchscreen is really good, and I'm actually really, really impressed with that. Like I mentioned about the speed of the processor, so it's about a couple of inches big as well, so it should just about do the job. In fact, it is slightly smaller than that of the BlackBerry Bold. The screen is slightly bigger, so if you found this too small, you're probably going to struggle with this. But if it's all right for you, then you should be good to go. Let's revert back to the main selling point, which I mentioned just now. It's the button, the Facebook button, the dedicated Facebook button. Simple tap, and you can upload whatever you think needs to be uploaded onto Facebook, just like that. So if you love Facebook, if you're addicted to it, this could very well be the perfect phone for you. Now, some people are saying it's the Facebook phone. It's not the case because Facebook didn't actually have a hand in making this. However, the founder did come on record to say that he's very happy with the product and he hopes to see more things like this in the future. Of course he'll be happy because it helps push Facebook, doesn't it? So, all in all, I think it's a pretty nifty phone. You gotta remember, it's an Android skin device running on less than 1 gigahertz of processing power, and it just gets the job done. You know what the big selling point is? Facebook. So when you get it, if you're a Facebook freak, you're gonna love the phone. However, one thing has to be pointed out. HTC and Facebook have announced they'll be working on a phone together. Maybe it's because of this, I'm not sure. It's going to be called the Buffy. We don't know much about it, except it will be Android powered, and it will have very heavy, as I said, Facebook tweaks to it. So we'll have to see how that turns out. Another big selling point about this though would be the price. Shade under 800 ringgit, it's 799 ringgit. That's 3 digits for the price. That's really, really, really very enticing at the end of the day. It's nice to use. I'm gonna give this a maybe 3 out of 5 overall. That's the HTC Cha Cha. Recently in Into Tech, we've had some really distinguished guests. Now this is, well, mainly thanks to Silicon Valley comes to Malaysia, and that trend continues this week because we got another co-founder from YouTube on the show, Karim. Let's find out what he has to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need to find, some sort of niche features that appeal to people to convince them to come over to Google+. But in the long run, I think there's going to be more than one social network. So I don't think it's like a, one network owns everything type of scenario. I mean, that's just not the case. I think, most likely there will be one that's the biggest. Yeah, sometimes I think you have to be segmented to set yourself apart. So there are a lot of networks right now, social networks that cater to a smaller area of interest or a more narrow group of people. But that's exactly where the value proposition comes in. I mean, in fact, Facebook initially was unique because it was private, right? First, it was only for specific college campuses. Later, it opened up to all colleges and then high schools, and now it's open to everyone. But I think Facebook has actually lost some of the things that distinguished it initially. So at this point, it's actually becoming, sort of like everyone's on it, which almost makes it like less interesting. So I think there's, in fact, there's probably potential for a social network to come in and say, we're going to actually have, private groups. Well, what I'm saying is I think Facebook has kind of diluted its mission. So initially it was supposed to be exclusive, private, but I think that they were more motivated by increasing the number of page views and increasing the revenue. So they actually had to kind of open up the network. So they had to create new default privacy settings that were more open. So now if you look at most Facebook profiles, they'll actually expose a lot of the photos. I think it's actually done in a way where the profile owner isn't actually aware of that. And they've changed their privacy settings multiple times. And I'm not saying they're doing a bad thing. They've just had to do that because their number one metric is they want to increase the revenue in page views. And so they've actually diluted the core value of it. Yeah, I mean, my observation is that there's talented people everywhere, right? And so, bringing Silicon Valley innovation to other places in the world, I think is mostly a matter of importing the culture, right? So it's not that any other place lacks, like talented people. Certainly the infrastructure is here in Malaysia, there's no question about that. So I think it's more of a matter of importing like the cultural aspects, like are people willing to take risks? Is there like a personal network of people that you can look up to? it's a little bit difficult, for example, if there's no one that you can like aspire up to, right? You need role models, you need advisors, mentors. So I think, you know, what Malaysia needs to do is sort of build up this network of people, and I think that's the best way to transfer some of you know, the Silicon Valley spark to this part of the world. Yeah, I think this is a great first step, you know. I mean, this conference is only a couple days long. It's a great first step. You know, maybe the next step would be to bring people over for, you know, maybe 3 months, 6 months or something like that, and to have people, you know, present here on a more continuous basis. Yeah, I mean, first of all, you need to identify a specific problem that you want to solve. And it should be something you're really passionate about, and it should also be something that you want to solve for yourself. It's difficult to predict what other people want, so it's easier to say, you know, here's a specific issue that I want to solve, and I have an idea for how to do that. So initially you could just, you know, build it for yourself, show it to some friends and see how they react. So I think those would be the first steps to deciding, you know, what you want to do. And then once you get some good feedback, and, you know, once it turns out that your idea is useful, you know, you just kind of take it from there. And I think the risk is reduced tremendously once you have some feedback and validation. Yeah, you know, so I've always been a fan of products that kind of market themselves. So at YouTube, for example, we didn't have any, you know, marketing people or marketing experience. I think the most interesting products are the ones that are so inherently useful that they market themselves, and there's many examples of that. You know, whether it's eBay or Google or Twitter or Facebook, right? These are companies that, you know, at least initially didn't have any advertising budgets. The product was, you know, sort of very straightforward, very clearly useful. And so, you know, I've always been attracted to those types of companies. You know, there's a bunch. I don't know if there's like one or two. One that I find very interesting is it's Airbnb, which has been a hugely successful company, and they've basically identified this marketplace where people can put up, you know, their apartments or houses, and people who are traveling can, you know, rent those places. And I think it's the perfect marketplace because it's more profitable for the owners to list their places on Airbnb rather than renting them out on a monthly basis, because they can charge for them on a daily basis. And for the travelers, the places end up being cheaper than hotels, and they get the sort of personal local experience at the same time. So it's kind of like this, you know, I don't like the word synergy, but in this case, you know, it does create that kind of marketplace where, you know, it satisfies everyone's needs, and I think it's just fascinating.
It's been about 5 years since the PlayStation 3 launched, and when it came out, there weren't that many great launch titles as opposed to the Xbox. Yeah, there was Resistance, but let's face it, the first one wasn't that great. Second one was pretty good, and the third one was awesome. However, there was one game series which everyone just sat up and said, hey, what's this? It's from Naughty Dog, and it's called Uncharted. First one was awesome. Second one, Many people said it was the game of the year when it came out a couple of years back. Let's see if it can complete the trilogy of great games or fall down the path of stuff like The Godfather and, you know, not be so good. Avery's got it with Nathan Drake and Gamer Station.
Hey, Avery Score here with the Gamer Station, where today we're going to be checking out Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception. Now, this is one of those huge franchises on the PlayStation 3 where you're probably going to pick up the game no matter what I say today. If you're a fan of the series, you should absolutely just go out and get it. This holds up the standards of the series, both in terms of production values, storytelling, character development, and just an overall cohesive, fun gaming experience absolutely 100% of the way. This time around, you reprise your role as the titular character, Nathan Drake, who's the long-suffering descendant of Sir Francis Drake, the famous English privateer and pirate. And this time around, the story revolves around the lost city of Iram of the Pillars and some hidden treasure of Sir Francis Drake that you're after. You'll find some familiar characters both in the Rogues Gallery and also in the Pantheon of Heroes, so to speak, where Marlowe makes an appearance early in the game and is trying to grab Nathan Drake's signature ring, which is the key to unlocking an astrolabe, revealing a coded location left by Sir Francis Drake, of course. Sullivan will be once again accompanying you throughout a large portion of the quest, and the repartee between the two major characters is absolutely motivational as you progress through the plot. Sort of little quips here and there that are injected into the action in a natural way really add a lot of dimension to the characters and give the whole experience a believable feel. This game, like its predecessors, and especially like Uncharted 2, which is a very similar experience, involves some really breathtaking set pieces where you're not going to have a moment to sort of catch your breath. In fact, one of the strengths of this game, aside just the top-notch amazing production values both on the graphical and sound side of things, is the pacing of the game. It's never so frenetic that you're going to feel just overwhelmed and afraid to pick up the controller, but at the same time there's really never a dull moment in this game. You can't really point out a specific scene or puzzle or platforming, you know, series of jumps or combat sequence that was a low point. This is just a series of high points that grabs you and never lets go. That said, the game, like its predecessors, is extremely linear in its scope. So you're going to be progressing along a linear plot and even sort of a linear path through the game's levels in a single-player play experience that takes about 8 to 10 hours to complete. So about average. All of the jumps, all of the areas that you're meant to explore are laid out for you, and you don't have a lot of freedom and choice. Of course, that's by design. The Uncharted games have always been this way, but if you are looking for a more sandbox, free-roaming experience in which you can make decisions for the character and really have a sort of sense of fusion with your on-screen ersatz, as a result of that, you're not going to find it here. What you are going to find is a really fantastic story that's told in a super competent way. Really, Naughty Dog has come a huge distance since they were putting out Crash Bandicoot games on the PlayStation 1. And it's not for nothing that Nathan Drake is pretty much the mascot of the PS3 at this point. They absolutely know what they're doing. They've got one of the most competent teams of developers out there, and it's really hard to find fault with the game on a technical level. The graphics are some of the best you will see on this current generation of consoles, with vibrant textures, beautiful colors, just spectacular lighting effects, a rock-solid frame rate, and above all, probably the most artful animations ever in a video game. Truly incredible. The movements are so natural. The way Nathan Drake stumbles as he lands on a ledge, much like in Uncharted 2, but even improved beyond that. The voice acting, once again, is spectacular. Even when there's sort of ham-fisted moments of dialogue, the actors do a terrific job of delivering those lines. Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception, in addition to its excellent single-player campaign, also includes two very competent multiplayer modes, competitive and cooperative. In the cooperative multiplayer mode, there's a great game type called Adventure, which basically pits you against the game's mobs and enemies with 1 or 2 friends, and gives you just the most interesting parts of the gameplay, cutting out some of the platforming puzzles, any of the brain teasers that are in the game, and just giving you the running and gunning, and especially the close hand-to-hand combat. You're going to want to play intelligently, use stealth moves, and sort of the close quarters combat that's been so much improved in this game. It's, other than that, a lot like the multiplayer modes that you found and loved in Uncharted 2 Amongst Thieves. All in all, this is a hugely solid experience, and solid is really the word to describe it. From start to finish, this is a game to which a lot of care, knowledge, and just know-how about how to deliver a consistent experience has gone into. If you're a fan of action-adventure games, and especially ones that kind of aspire to cinematic pathos and bathos, you're going to love Uncharted 3. If you're looking for a more sandbox open experience, you're going to want to check out an action game more on the lines of Batman Arkham City, which we reviewed last week. So I recommend that you pick up the game. I certainly loved it. Tune in next week.
Hey, thanks, buddy. I feel like getting a multiplayer view. And you know what? You could as well. Follow us on Twitter or Facebook. Look up GN Gadget. And why don't you grab his PlayStation ID so you can actually see how good everybody is, because trust me, he's awesome. Anyhow, more gadgets and more in store for you next week. Same time, same place. My name is Alan Carruthers, and I need to catch some sun. I'm pale.